Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I am here with Allyson Ward, and she has a plethora of information that she's going to give, and exactly what I'm going through right now is what she offers as well. So I'm excited to have Allyson. And why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me with your group today. I appreciate it. I love doing these because I just want to help as many moms. I know what it's like having been down this path. So who I am and what I do is I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, and also an author. And I love working with women. And again, I just my heart goes out. Being a mom and having an income is a tough job. It's a really tough job because it seems like neither of them ever end. And so my journey began, I don't want to say how many years ago because I'd be giving away my age, but some years ago, I was a newly divorced mom, had a really big job at IBM, and was really trying to figure out how to make sure I served my children at a high level, because being a mom to me was absolutely paramount, and raising two really healthy, happy girls was really key for me. And so doing that well and also achieving at my job because I wanted to make sure I could provide financially for them. And so at that time, I began this journey of trying to figure out how to do both of those things and how to do it happily, right? Not that it was like something to get through, but rather a get to do. Because I think being a mom is the greatest thing ever. And it's such an honor to be able to raise my girls. And I imagine you feel the same way. I see you're shaking your head, Charisse.
Absolutely. As I yelled at my son this morning, get to school, stop it. I feel guilty. Yeah, absolutely. So keep going.
Yeah. And so I began this journey of really, what are the tools that are kind of outside your normal, I went to college and I do this, right? Like, what are my business skills? And I started a journey really of personal development. And along that journey, I found Tony Robbins. And so kind of started going to events there, ultimately became so amazed at what he was able to do to help people affect change that I want to do the same thing, which led me to do my coaching coursework, which led me down a deeper path with Tony. I now have the privilege of serving as a senior trainer for him, which means I help people at events. So when people come and they say, hey, I get what Tony's saying, can you help me with? Then we can have a one-on-one conversation, right? So based upon the knowledge of Tony and then based upon that person's own personal. And so it's personal, it's business. There's a lot of different areas that I work with in Tony. I think a lot of people see him as personal development, but he is big in business and leadership. And I have the privilege of actually speaking on his stage as a leadership speaker. So what I do is I go and I work with companies and I work with women. I have my own groups that I run of women who are at a pivotal point in their lives and they want to make a change and they're not sure how to do it. And, the way that I'm a big fan, and I imagine many of your listeners might be too, of Stephen Covey, right? And so, always begin with the end in mind. Right. Often I find people just kind of sleepwalking through life. And I get that because we're moms and we're so busy trying to, keep the lights on with our businesses or our jobs, and then also be really great and show up for our kids. And we forget to check in and say, what do I really want? Right? What's most important to me in life? And I know that was one of the things when I first went to my first event with Tony, it was like, man, I haven't thought about some of these questions in so long. Right. And I think the thing that I think moms always think, yes, but I'm focused on my kids and I want to give them the best. You give them the best when you're at your best.
Yeah.
Right. I remember I started going to a lot of events and some of my friends were like, well, how can you leave your kids home? And I'm like, I know when I return,
yes,
I show up so much better to serve them.
I agree.
Right. And to take care of them. Right. And same thing in my career at IBM. It's like I came in like energized, new ideas, new ways of looking at things. And so I love that kind of diversity and new voices, diversity and ideas of things that you can do to improve not just you, but your kind of your whole ecosystem, which includes your children and your business or job.
See, I think that that's really important. I'm glad that you said that because I actually last week I was out for 2 days. And for me, like going to a conference is my energy. Like my husband, he likes to go fishing. I like to go to conferences, right? And so, yeah, I have to leave my kids for a couple of days, but they're in school half the day. And then they get one-on-one time with dad. And so that gives me some time and I come back energized. And there was a time where I was going quite a bit and now it's like every couple months, but still like that. I start to feel like, if I'm not able, because for me, I love self-improvement and I want to be an example to my kids of how to not, the word try. I don't like that word. It's just do, or I'm hoping to. I'm like, no, just go do it and make a plan. You don't need to hope. You don't need to try. Just do it.
Right.
So talk to me about the impact of role overload. You mentioned something about how women feel this, and you've kind of touched on it, but what is role overload?
So, we, again, it's kind of like it's the balance of life, right? It's like, well, wait a minute. I feel guilty if I go to the conference. I feel guilty if I go to work and I can't go to my kid's soccer game or whatever that is. I feel guilty if I'm not putting in 110% at my job or in my business, because that's also important. And then we also have other roles. Spouse. Yeah. We could be caring for, older parents, our church, right? Whatever that is, right? So we have all these different roles. Women wear so many different hats. And and we wear more hats than men do, right? They don't have the same ownership. And it's not to say that they don't parent. This is not a men bashing thing. That's not my point here. And that the truth of the matter is they don't take on as many roles as we do in the same way. And, you touched on something a moment ago that I just want to speak into, and that is the idea that how you recharge when you go. And I think it's such an important thing for your children to see that they are very important to you, and they're not the only thing in your life. You too have a life. I think by role modeling this idea of looking out for yourself as well is a really important idea. And I think a lot of moms have the wrong idea. And a lot of parents, frankly, have the wrong idea that they think, oh, but it takes more of this martyring approach, right? And I'm sacrificing everything for my kids, which just creates resentment. It's probably not the model you want to set for your children as they, leave the nest. So I would say that's kind of the role overload. It's like taking on so much and thinking I have to do everything, at 110%, which is impossible.
Well, and I know that there's listeners right now that are probably like screaming at the right now. That's not true. If you're a mom, you need to do this and this and this. And so before they turn it off, I want to talk about that because the whole purpose of this podcast is to help women reignite with their passion and making sure that, yes, kids are important and yes, you should be there for them. And yes, there's so much there as a mom, but I've just time and time again, if you just give and give and give and give, you don't have anything else to take from the bucket. And I always think of it as taking a ladle and here's the water and dumping the water. And if you're not putting back in, eventually you run out. And so you talk about how to help women reignite their forgotten passions and integrate them into their busy lives. And so how can women do that? Like what are one or two suggestions you have?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is really, like I said, is like stop, take a minute and figure out what that is, because many people that I talk to cannot answer that question. And again, is this the role model that you want for your kids? Is this really what you want them to do? And no mom is going to say yes if they want them just get a job and work and take care of others and never think about themselves. The obvious answer is no, I don't want that for my children.
Right.
People do what you model, not what you say.
That's true. That's very.
So you want to make sure you're modeling the behavior, right? In my book that I wrote, the parenting book that I wrote, I talk about even at a young age, you can set up with your children the importance of saying, hey, mom is going to take a bath every Thursday night.
Mhm.
And this is my time for me just to take some time out of a busy week to recharge. Just something as simple as that. You can even have little ones, oh, I'm going to help mom set up her special bath, and letting the kids know that you have a special ritual in place to take care of yourself.
Oh,
So yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. You guys.
No.
Oh, I was going to say that's what, so the thing is that the first thing is what do you want?
Mhm.
And so there's all kinds of, checking with the coach, there's courses out there, there's things, because again, it's not as easy as what do you want? Most people don't know the answer to that question because they've forgotten because they're so busy doing other things. But when you have an idea, or maybe there's something you always wanted to learn, or, something that you've put off when you became a mom or took a new job and you don't have any time for that, it's just first recognizing what it is and then reprioritizing it. And you
Mhm.
want to use your net time, right? No extra time. So if you have a love of travel, maybe you start listening to a travel podcast on a regular basis. You can put that on while you're cooking your dinner, while you're exercising, right? So there's a lot of ways. There's so many ways to get information now. Podcasts are a great one, looking at a YouTube video. There's so many instructional, there's apps that you can do. And again, you can squeeze it in with things you're already doing. It's like, it's time to do the laundry. Okay. When I do the laundry, I'm going to treat myself to, a show or a podcast on a topic that I'm interested in. Has no other benefit other than I'm interested in that topic. It's not going to make me be a better parent, not going to make me be a better, employee or business owner. It's just something that fills my soul when I dream about traveling through Italy or whatever it is.
No, I like that. And I actually, I want to go back to how you said every Thursday night's a bath night or something. So I have a daughter that she constantly, her mind just doesn't stop, right? So the worst time of day is bedtime because that means she has to lay in her bed by herself and she just relives the entire day. And then sometimes it leads into like cry fest because she's sad about stuff that she forgot about until she laid in bed. So a lot of times she's like, Mom, can you lay with me? And I'm like, okay, you are getting to the age you've got to learn how to put yourself to sleep. And so we've started where the phrase is date night. Like mom and dad are having a date night. We're going to watch a movie together. So I'm not going to lay with you. It's your turn to go to sleep by yourself. And she has no rebuttal for that. She's like, okay, just come and check on me later. And so I think that, I mean, your kids, they do want you to be happy. They do want you to be successful. They do want, like, they're, to me, my kids are some of my biggest cheerleaders. And so as long as you're setting those boundaries and saying, look, I love you, but I also love my husband, your dad, and we need to be together.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great example. I love that you're doing that. And clearly that resonates with her because, like you said, she's not giving you any pushback. I think it's a great example of how well that works. Boundaries are so important in the sense of, when I am in a second marriage now, and my husband and I were like, you and I are the priority, right? And I think it's really, it gives children a sense of comfort and peace knowing that your marriage is strong. Even though my children are from my first marriage, they love being with my husband and I. And I think, your daughter probably is feeling that sense of safety and comfort and love that you and your husband are able to express to one another. And you're really modeling for them what a healthy relationship looks like.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes when moms, and this is for the listeners that want to turn off, that moms, children need boundaries. And if you give everything to them and if you're at every single little event with them and you're volunteering in the classroom all the time and you're always there and you live, breathe, eat, sleep with them, I think sometimes they take advantage of you and they take you for granted because a lot of times, like I've seen a lot of moms where the kids, like I know somebody that he's very adult, like past the 50s, and he just expects his parents to do everything for him, specifically finances. And so, well, my parents will pay for that, or my parents will do this or that. And I'm like, you haven't even talked, like you just take him for granted. And unfortunately, his parents do, And so I do think that I love your idea of boundaries and making sure that you take care of yourself because to me, it's essential.
Yeah, it definitely is essential. And in fact, that's why I wrote my book, which is called Please Don't Come Home Except for a Visit. It's a field guide to raising independent young adults. And the reason I wrote it is that I was doing some leadership coaching, and I had a number of clients who would come to a call, and the beginning of the call would invariably be about a frustration they had with their young adult child who hadn't exactly launched yet and was living in their basement and kind of living off of them. And of course, we want to support our children. And, we joke, my children are always welcome here, right? They know they are. And at the same token, they know they would not be welcome here if they thought their idea was they're going to lay in the bed all day and watch, TV or play video games, and I was going to continue to pay their bills. They know that's also not the ideal. And raising independent young adults and young women who are happy and healthy and contributing in society was important to me. And for me, that also went hand in hand with creating independence. And the 50-year-old person that you're talking about who's still living off of mom and dad financially, what are they going to do when mom and dad aren't here?
They have no self-confidence because they don't think that they can do it on their own. And so, I think that of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those 5 levels, and they're probably stuck at 3 or 4. Actually, I'd say 3, because they don't have the self-esteem, they don't have the confidence, they don't have any of that. And so I think it's a huge disservice. And these parents who want to just bail their kids out all the time, yeah, it's hard to see them go through things, but at the same time, if you bail them out, they don't have the confidence to do it on their own.
No, that is 100% right. I've seen that myself, close up and personal. You cannot give somebody confidence.
No.
You cannot give somebody self-esteem. Confidence and self-esteem come from trying different things, getting out your comfort zone, doing something different. And then you might be like, oh, wow, I did that. Like, I was able to do that. That's where the self-esteem comes from. That's where the confidence comes from. Then you try something else. Then you try something else. And I don't love the word try either, and I generally don't use it. But what I'm saying, I'm using it different here, right? So the idea is that you're taking on different things that perhaps you haven't done before. And again, like in my book, it's like, letting your, younger child even make a phone call and order pizza for dinner tonight.
Yes.
Right? Like little things, because how are they going to know how to do it unless they do it?
Yep.
Right? And if they get it wrong and you get the wrong pizza, that's not a huge cost. Right? So just little things like that. That's how they continue to build their self-esteem.
I love that. Okay, well, my last question for you is, what is something that I haven't asked you that you really feel like over the years in your experience working with so many women, that women need to know? Like one piece of advice.
Okay. There's a concept that I teach that women are always like, oh, really? I'll share to that. That's the thing. I get that most often. And I teach something called the upward spiral. And what that means is that you can take any situation and turn it into a positive, right? And so the idea is that you're taking in information, and nothing by itself is a positive or negative. It's the meaning that we assign to it. And so how do we assign meanings? I mean, you and I can see the same event and have assigned a completely different meaning to it. And that's based upon our values, our belief systems. And the thing about it is, it's all unconscious.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody gets up and says, I'm going to be, I'm going to have this value, or I'm going to have this, because we develop those belief systems as a result of things that happen to us in our experiences, right? Or we have a past experience. I know what this looks like because it happened to me or my friend. So that's how we assign meaning.
Can I interject real quick? There's one more thing. I think it's also what you're experiencing that day. Because like, if I read the scriptures and one time, like I'm going to get this out of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this totally spoke to me. The next time I go read it, I'm like, I got nothing. So I really think that that's also like what you're experiencing at the time and what you're going to take out of it. So keep going.
Absolutely. No, yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely true, which is why, it's like you go back and read things multiple times because you're in a different place in your life. And not just in that day, but you've grown, you've had other experiences. So now you're taking in that information in a different way. But so it's like, what meaning do I want to assign it? What meaning is going to help me to get a positive outcome? So if, let's say, let's say I'm in a collegial situation and I decide that, oh, this fellow was always late to our meetings and he just, because I know how he is in the past, he's always going to be, he's disrespecting me. Versus if I had a more positive experience with him, I might say, oh my gosh, that Josh, he's always late to meetings. I know he gets wrapped up in stuff. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send him a note 10 minutes before and be like, hey, Josh, see you in 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. The situation is exactly the same. Somebody is late consistently for the meeting, but I get to choose the meeting. And so when I go into the meeting now with the first scenario, I'm going to be frustrated. I might, not show up positively to the meeting, or I'm not going to get prepared, which is going to prevent me from getting my work done. Right. So my attitude that I bring to it has a huge impact versus, this guy, I wish he wouldn't do it, but I know how he is. We can almost assure, right? And I'm having kind of a funny laugh about it. Then I'm going to go into the meeting in a different way. Once I have a different attitude, my behavior is different, my outcome is different, and then kind of the cycle, the spiral, if you will, continues along, right? And so when you understand that you get to choose, when you stop and just think for a minute, am I choosing something that's going to bring me down or bring me up? Am I choosing a meaning to this that's going to help me get closer to my outcome or further away? Then you get to choose. And so that is what I think a lot of people miss. And when they understand it and to start noticing when they get a little frustrated, what else can I make this mean? That feels very empowering to them.
That is life-changing because it is so true. I mean, you are taking back control of your life. You're not letting people control you. And I think that is one of the key elements to finding peace. I totally agree.
100%. And I always say, it's like you can either live at cause or effect. I want to live at cause, right? I want to very consciously. And I say that now, all the decisions that I've made, good and bad, I own them as mine, because if I say, well, he made me do this or she made me do this, and that's why I'm not where I want to be today, or that's why, my husband likes to have ice cream every night at 9 o'clock and I eat the ice cream too. And I said, well, he brought the ice cream out, right? Well, then I'm at effect. Right. So this is a much more empowering state and place for me to be.
Thank you. So how do people find you, Allyson?
The best way to find me is two ways. One is I'm on Instagram as Allyson Ward, and I'm sure you'll have a link for that. And then the other thing is on my website, I do have some kind of self-study courses. The one that I created most recently that people seem to love the most is one where I help people plan their next 12 months. So it doesn't have to be like a year in activity. We can always stop right now and decide, okay, I'm going to get serious about what I want in life, how I want to show up. And it's a multi-step process that you can go through of not just planning. I think the thing that makes this very unique from kind of other planning tools is not just beginning with the end in mind, breaking it down to small pieces, but then also, making sure we have SMART goals. And then the piece that I think is really different is, who do you have to be? Who's the person who can easily handle that? What's that person's identity? And then closing the gap. What do you need? Do you have all the skills now, or what are you missing? Right? So that's basically closing the gap. And then my final piece, which is really amazing, is focusing on who you spend time with. And so that's, like I said, I love the course. In fact, I have a discount for your listeners. If there's something they're interested in pursuing, it's $20 off. And they just put the word podcast into, it's on the Work with Allyson page in my website.
Love that. That's so great. And I love discounts for my listeners. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Allyson, it's been a true delight. And listeners, I hope, Unbreakable Moms, I should say, I hope that you have taken some nuggets and realized that you are in control of your life and you can do anything you want, and get back to your passions instead of giving all the time. Go make it a great day. See you later.